I'm going to try and summarise my 10 years plus as a race mechanic, bike mechanic and general bike nerd in just 5 minutes. I've helped teams get podiums at World Cups, I've helped racers get their career bests, but I definitely wasn't the best mechanic. I learned a lot, and hopefully in this 5 minutes I can impart that knowledge to you. Let's start the timer. Plan your maintenance. Don't do your maintenance before a big ride, the night before especially. Okay, as a race mechanic, we literally have to do this, but we've got a truck with us with all the tools and all the spares. And in certain situations, I've had to rebuild complete bikes from the tyres up through the frame, but you don't have to. So plan ahead. Why? Because if you're in a rush, you make mistakes. And if you make mistakes, you break stuff. And that's not great. Use the right tools. Yes, it sounds obvious, but you could use a T27 in a worn out T25 bolt. You could use a T27 tool in a T30. Is it going to work? No. So make sure you do your research and use the right tools for the right task. The other thing you should do is invest in tools. Good tools do last longer, the tolerances are better, the materials that they're made of are better. So invest in good tools. Here we use Park Tool. While you're investing in tools, it's worthwhile investing in a torque wrench. Yes, as Calvin says, with experience you can get used to what tight is for different bolts. And it's really important to get that experience on the tools. But with mountain bike parts, it's really important to make sure that you're using a torque wrench so stuff is as tight as it should be and fragile stuff doesn't break. So invest wisely. It's not a tool, but it's well worth investing in, and that's a bike stand. Why? Because pretty much every task on a bike, whilst you could do without a bike stand, is 100% easier, possibly 200%. Okay, numbers aren't accurate, but it's much easier with a bike stand. Get a good one, they last for ages. We've talked a lot about investment, but now I've got a guaranteed return on investment. No, it's not an NFT, it's a chain checker. These tools will actually save you money. How? Because you'll be able to monitor your chain wear. And if you stay on top of your chain wear and make sure that you replace your chain before you start wearing out your chain ring and your cassette, well, you'll save money on those. So, okay, you'll spend more money on chains, but you will save the rest of your drivetrain. You can get them dedicated to work with the new flat top chains, and they're just a really worthy investment. So park the NFTs, get a chain checker. The key to any cleaning schedule is to clean the expensive moving parts. What do I mean? Well, you can have a clean and shiny down tube, and that's great. Functionally, if it's covered in crud, it will do the same thing. But functionally, your rear mech, your drivetrain, and your brakes, be those pads and rotors, won't function the same if they're covered in crud. So if you're time crunched, spend that time wisely cleaning your drivetrain and your disc brakes. We've talked about cleaning, and it's easy to think, clean chain, done. Don't stop. Make sure that you lube your chain because, well, a lube chain is going to work longer and last longer too. And you're going to have less issues when you're shifting. So make sure you lube your chain. We've got lots of videos on how to, so follow one of those. Lots of folks swear by using spray-on aerosol lubricants. And, well, they're tempting. They work quickly, but don't. Why? Because they often spray oil in places that don't need oil, and oil can break down grease, so it means the very parts that you're trying to look after, you're degrading. So use a cloth to dry your bike and then drip oil if you need to. If a part's got grease in it, well, you should put grease in it. Jet washing your bike isn't fine. What do I mean? Loads of pros jet wash. They do, and they'll jet wash at point blank range, and then they'll spend 2, 3, 4 hours rebuilding that bike. If you don't want to do that, be really careful with how you jet wash. Use probably a bit more cleaner than you do at the moment and be gentle with the jet wash. So don't fire it at cassettes, don't fire it at free hubs, don't fire it directly at pedals or anything where there's loads of grease in, because otherwise you'll have to repack it with lots of grease. As mountain bikers, we're literally floating on air, and it should be, hopefully, one of the only contact points with the trail. And it's also one of the best value upgrades, and that's tyres. So make sure you look after your tyres. Look for any cuts or nicks that you can repair and make that tyre last longer, and stop you getting a flat in the middle of nowhere. Tubeless or tubed, don't forget to check your valves. Often they're replaceable, and it can make a really big difference because, well, staying inflated easily is better. Think about replacing gear cables before they snap and fail. How? Well, if your shifting feels mushy, if it feels slow, it's time to change it. If you're lucky, you might be able to get away with just replacing the inner cable. Most cases you'll have to do both, but if you replace it early, you can get 2 inners for 1 outer. Try it. When we're talking about tyres, the other thing to make sure we check is tyre pressure. It's really easy to kind of forget with tubeless tyres that we do need to check tyre pressures regularly. The other thing we should keep an eye on is that if you're running low pressures, well, you want to keep them low and you need to keep them above the very minimum. So check your pressures regularly. It really helps.